Welcome class to your next set of notes. Today we're going to be talking about population, sample, and bias. You do not have a sheet you need to glue in today. You just need to write down these notes and do the problems that I tell you to do for homework. This is one of those topics that you kind of just have to memorize. There's no really other way about it. But in statistics, you're doing a lot of gathering data. So data means you have to make sure you know what population, sample, and making sure you're not asking biased questions. So population is the whole or entire group being studied. So for instance, I could study all of 6th graders in Elkhorn. If I wanted to know something, I want to know about all of the 6th graders in Elkhorn as a whole. So every school that we have in Elkhorn, talking about the 6th graders, I want to know anything about that is my population as a whole. But then specifically when we talk about samples, samples gets more specific. A sample is a set of data collected from the whole population that's being looked at. It's really difficult to look at the entire population because that's a lot of people. So instead of looking at the entire population, you take a sample of that population to look more specifically at. So for instance, if I want to look at 6th graders in Elkhorn, instead of looking at all 6th graders, I could just look at 6th graders at EVVMS. And that would be a sample of the population. So in statistics, like I said, it's a lot of looking at data, but you need to be able to make sure that when you look at data, it is a reasonable amount of data. Otherwise, you will have too much and it'll be overwhelming. So here's an example that I want you guys to solve for me using the example that I gave you. Okay, here's the example. Administrators at Riverview High School surveyed a random sample of their seniors to see how they felt about lunch offerings in the cafeteria. What is the population and what is the sample? So knowing that information, I want you to give me the population and the sample. Remember, my population was 6th grade students in Elkhorn. The sample was 6th grade students at EVV. With this example, I want to know what is the population, what is the sample. Remember guys, these are notes. As long as you're writing in pencil, you can change your answers. These are things that we go over in class. So don't feel like you have to get the answer correct if you do not know. Take a guess, take a try. It is okay. You don't have to go and ask your parents to help you because I will help you out tomorrow in class. That's the point of this. It is not for you to know it 100% when you are done with the notes. That's not the point at all. We will talk about it in class tomorrow. So, like I said, take a guess. What do you think is the population? What do you think is the sample? It is okay to be wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. That is how we learn. So that's population and sample. There will be population and sample in every single piece of data that you are looking at. Okay? But along with population and sample, there is bias because we could have biased questions, and we do not want biased questions. We want unbiased questions because otherwise our population or sample are being affected. So bias is in favor, for, or against something, a person, or a group. It is usually considered unfair. So you could be for something or against something, but it's going in one direction, not even. So it's usually unfair in one way or the other, whether you think it's a good way or whether you think it's a bad way. It is unfair in one way. An example of this would be if I wanted to survey people at a Taylor Swift concert if they liked Taylor Swift. Now, 1, I'm at a Taylor Swift concert, and 2, I'm surveying other people who are at a Taylor Swift concert who bought tickets to go to a Taylor Swift concert, asking if they liked Taylor Swift. Most likely, they are going to say yes, which is a biased response because I am surveying people at a concert that I'm asking people about. That is bias. One thing I also want to note that I did not write down is it is usually random responses. You want to get random responses. So if your question will not allow you to get random responses, then it's most likely biased in some way, shape, or form. So I'm going to give you 2 examples that I want you guys to do, and once again, we will talk about them in class tomorrow. So please do not feel like you have to get them right. It is okay to get them wrong. This is how we learn. The more mistakes you make, the more you're going to learn from it. If you have to get 100% the first time every time, you are going to struggle. It is okay to make mistakes. Trust me, I make mistakes all the time. So your examples, mine are on the next page. Once again, I retitled and dated that page. But here's the first example. It says a person posts a podcast and asks his viewers to participate in an online poll. 89% of people of his 200 viewers love his show. Is this bias and why? So a person posts a podcast and asks his viewers to participate in an online poll, meaning he's only asking people who watched or listened to the podcast. And of 200 viewers that watched or listened to the podcast, 89% of them loved the show. Is that bias? Yes or no? And tell me why. Last one. A member of the cafeteria staff asked every 5th grade student leaving the cafeteria to rank 5 vegetables from favorite to least favorite. She finds that corn is one of those favorite vegetables. Is this bias and why? So think about if you were in the cafeteria. The cafeteria ladies or men ask, as you are leaving the cafeterias, every 5 students to rank them from favorite to least, the 5, and then finds that corn is one of the favorites. Is that bias? Yes or no? And tell me why. Okay, once again, we'll talk about all of this tomorrow because I want to know what you're thinking. This type of stuff is more a discussion based. There's not a whole lot of notes around it besides making sure you understand what it means. So don't go ask for help. Don't go ask your friends. Tell me what you think. I want to know your opinion, not someone else's. And we will talk about this tomorrow. I look forward to then. You guys have a great rest of your evening. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.